Today we're going to talk about dating in New York City. And the reason why I'm qualified to talk about this is because I'm not. I've been single for 3 years. I've been in all three major cities, Chicago, LA, New York City, and have been single for the majority, if not all, of my post-college adulthood life. But I do have a lot of friends who are dating, especially in New York, who have started relationships, ended relationships, are maintaining relationships, considering marriage within New York. So I am somewhat qualified. I think a lot about male-female dynamics in this society. I think I'm at the age of 24 where dating is hot. Everyone is dating, apparently, besides me. So today I'm going to be talking about dating within New York City. Maybe it's relatable to everyone in any city environment at my age, or perhaps I'm overthinking about things and I just need to go on a date and relax. But here is some analysis on what I think about New York City dating. To start off with, everyone's favorite thing to do, swiping left and right, swipe or no swiping. Swiping is probably the most number one hot thing people do, especially post-pandemic world. It's the easiest place to find someone. Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, whatever you find fit. People seem to be on these apps, and it almost seems like a social media platform at this point, where you kind of go on it when you're bored or feeling a little something at the end of Saturday night or feeling lonely. People go on it. I myself really can't get myself to be hooked on it or get on it. I don't have it at the moment. I am too romantic, or maybe perhaps I have too high of standards, but at the moment I can't really be swiping. But a lot of my friends seem to be enjoying it. I had a recent incident of a friend who actually got into a serious relationship off of Hinge, and he seems to have a great time. So it's a interesting idea. You know, it's almost an accepted part of history now, and I think based on what's going on now, once we have kids, a lot of kids will hear that their parents met on Hinge or Tinder, and it'll become very normalized. I think it's already normalized. Power be to the ones that are meeting off dating apps in New York. I think it seems like it works. There's tons of people. It works. Dating app aside, I think it's important to think about the dynamic of New York. New York is filled with young people that are trying to be ambitious or are actually ambitious, trying to pursue a career. Lots of finance folks, law folks, tech folks, fashion folks, all of which require the early hustle. So this doesn't necessarily incentivize dating, in my opinion. Especially not settling down or committing. Those are kind of words to our generation, especially within New York. Everyone is very worried about themselves, which means making time for others, prioritizing others, especially prioritizing a relationship with another is probably back of the mind. And you could probably think the opportunity cost. You have to pay for things. There's more activity fees. You might want time to yourself after a long day, but you have to prioritize them. Perhaps marriage is the question, and you're not even sure if you're going to stay in New York. That's another big issue because many people are in New York temporarily, or they're not from New York. Their plans aren't to stay in New York forever. New York is not the place to have kids. Of course, all these things you probably shouldn't overthink when you're 24, but subconsciously or not, actively, it plays into the dynamic. So, long story short, I think a lot of people that I've met, dating perhaps is not at the front of their priority list, but definitely in the back of the mind, and it starts to bother them. I do think that as time passes, maybe this is a sexist statement, but just based on social dynamics, whether or not you believe this is natural or environmental, doesn't matter. Based on current dynamics, which is of course rapidly changing, but still so, it seems like women, obviously, they have a biological clock if they wish to have a kid, and I think they are probably feeling the pressure more and more. I don't actually think that's a very positive thing, even as a pretty conservative, traditional person myself. You should live life the way you want it to, but society is society, and I think women definitely feel the pressure early on, and even men feel plenty of pressure to date, which is a very hard balance because in New York, everyone's very worried about their career. You're provoked to become part of hustle culture and do well and prioritize your career, but you're also constantly asked, why aren't you dating? Who are you seeing lately? So this balance is very hard. Of course, you might say, Brian, those two things don't have to counteract each other. You could date while also having a career. Yes, but it's hard for peace of mind, real state of mind, to prioritize two things of equal weight all at once, all while maintaining the hustle and bustle of just living in New York alone. All of this is further intensified / made difficult by everything being expensive. Typically, as a guy, you like to pay for the first date. Even the first date might put a dent in your wallet, and so you might not want to do that. Most people in New York make decent living, I'd say, especially in the big finance, big tech hubs. So perhaps it's not that big of a deal, but obviously once you start dating, either party especially if you believe in equality and people splitting the bill. You can have more activities, more nights out, all of which cost money indefinitely. New York is big. Maybe this is just me, but you've ran into plenty of people, girls at bars and clubs. Talk to them, but they live so far away, so it's not very convenient. You don't have a car. Yes, New York has great public transit, but you might live in Long Island City. They might live in Jersey City. They might live up in the Bronx, and you might live in Brooklyn. So convenience, just you got to keep thinking of, am I actually going to end up meeting this person or going out of my way to put an effort? Is that effort worth it? And perhaps that time is better spent furthering my career. A, B, C, thought trajectory that happens all the time. Again, everyone here seems to be here temporarily. Not much commitment down. You hear people all the time, eventually I want to go back to California. Eventually I want to go back to New England. I'd love to go to Denver and play and go skiing in the snow. I don't want to be in the city forever. And that makes you think, like, then do I have a long-term time with this person? I think it's also here hard to meet people beyond the app scene unless it's someone you already know, or it's someone you already know, or it's through church or work or some social gathering you have. Just coincidentally meeting someone typically doesn't really happen. You may mysteriously, magically meet someone at the club or the bar, see them, blow your brains out, feel so great, magically meet eyes, and live happily ever after and live a Disney Channel story. That's what I hope for, but wake up and smell the coffee, because that's probably not happening to you anytime soon. And you also have to think about the types of people that are at these bars and clubs. Probably not there to find relationships. Maybe they are. Maybe everyone is equal-minded, except no one's saying it out front. And even though everyone equally wants to have committed, serious relationships, they're acting like they're just flirting and having a good time. I don't know. I firmly believe that deep inside, all human beings want genuine relationships as opposed to surface-level ones, and they would prefer to stay home and watch Netflix with their significant other rather than be pumping their fists in the air in front of a meaningless DJ and listening to EDM. But that's just me. That's how I think many other people think, but perhaps it's not. I think that also adds on what people perceive versus what people actually want. A huge big deal in New York. A couple things that, I don't know, maybe will get me canceled in the future. The gender ratio is definitely off in New York. There's more women than men for a wide variety of reasons. Fashion schools, people coming into New York to find a suitor, number of different reasons. So which you would think would make it better for men. A lot of people say on online forums and stuff that New York City is the best dating pool for men in any city. Typically San Francisco viewed as the worst because there's a lot of dudes, a lot of rich dudes. But I don't know. Hasn't really worked out for me. Maybe I'm still too romantic or having too high of standards. Maybe it's time for me to get swiping. But all these factors, I think, make New York City dating difficult. You could say, suck it up, boohoo. You should just settle down and find someone, or enjoy life and not think so hard and just go on dates. I somewhat agree. But even finding someone like that, I think, is hard unless you have an app or you're just sliding into DMs, both of which I'm just not the type of person to do, at least at the moment. As I jokingly referred to before, I think my most ideal scenario would be meeting someone through someone I already know, or I guess romantically falling for one of my female friends, which typically does not happen, or meeting someone at church or in the workplace. Workplace doesn't really work as I work with 10 other dudes. Or the magical, mysterious Hollywood movie scenario of meeting someone at the bar, meeting eyes, and having a lovely time and, getting hard-eyed. But that also seems unlikely. So one sentence summary of the day is, to be honest, after all these reflection, I still don't understand why I'm single. I think it's important for everyone to be very confident in themselves and think I'm the best. But perhaps I'm overthinking. Maybe I do need to lower my standards. But New York City dating, for a lot of different reasons, as I just mentioned before, is harder than you think. But also, there's amplitude opportunities to meet people. There's so many people in the city, most populated city in America. So if you're thinking about coming to New York, don't be discouraged by everything I said. I'm sure it's a me problem. Plenty of people to date around. Get swiping if you're interested. Go to the clubs, go to the bars, meet more people so that they introduce you to more people, and get out there, because New York is a lovely dating scene. I feel like I just did this entire video just to contradict myself at the end. As always, Thank you guys for watching. Maybe I'll be taken by next week's video. Most definitely not. I will see you guys next time. Let's go.